Welcome to the last week of the season before manufactured all-star games and stuff like that are going to happen around the state of Georgia. Welcome to Soccer's in Session Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente Georgia, at KP Georgia and the 280-character app. Kaiser Permanente, for all that is you. What we're going to do all week is we're going to try and catch up with as many coaches as humanly possible. The broadcast voices that are going to be doing matches on the NFHS network have already locked in Luke Winstel for tomorrow and Wednesday, Tuesday and Wednesday at 12:15. So we put out the bat signal to all the broadcast crews. Anybody that wants to crash can. Any coach that wants to crash, if they don't have the link, they can text me and I'll send it to them. But what we're going to do, we're going to try to cover as many of the matches as possible. Coaches on the day before, especially if they got to travel. Coaches on the day of, if they don't have to travel, or if they're bored, or if they're on a bus, something like that. So, no dilly, no dally zone, no wasting time. We're going to catch up with friend of the network, Bobby Jaworski, head coach at GMC Prep. What is up?
Not much, John. Just getting ready for the game. All
right. So, there's a full disclosure. Before we come on the air, for anybody that's watching, we have a green room set up. And before we can activate studio spaces and things like that, we can actually come on before we're live and we can catch up and chat. So, we got the chance to catch up and chat. And this is, I think, the first time that you've got to look at Office HD and all of its layout here when it comes to what's going on. Yeah, I will say this. For those that don't know the story, the boss had to actually reinforce the curtain rods because the scarf weight was too heavy. And so she found a way to reinforce the curtain rods back here to have all of these scarves that are a part of the discussion. And by the way, full-blown shower, definitely the shower rod, the multiple shower rod, the vertical helps out as well. So you can either reinforce it this way or get the triple decker, and that's what I have here. See, because I'm left-handed. My natural thing is to do this. Left, you got multiple shower rods here, multiple shower rods here. And that's how we get all these scarves in. And the train track for the hats, by the way, when we converted, the boss was like, okay, we've got to get you an office space. We'll make you a man cave. I said, well, no, you would come down here and you work too. It's an office. So I have like 425 hats, from going to places and things. And she's like, well, what do we put a nail in the wall for each one? I said, that might get kind of messy. Yeah. So we had our handyman come in and create a train track about a foot from the ceiling. And so I can pyramid hats, and I've got about 270 all around the office that I can display at any one time, and then I can flip them out. So
it may be something where you need to take the roof up about 2 feet.
Add another, get some double deckers going. Right. But that is how Office HD was constructed, and so that's where we are. But what am I getting you out of? Lunchroom duty, lunch, or class?
No, I don't work at the school, so I am taking a break from my actual office job. So just trying to get some stuff done before get back after it.
How, after you won in the semi, how much time did you give the staff, the team to sit there and take a collective breath before knowing that you were going to have to do this all over again? Was there any celebrating or what?
No, there definitely was. What kind of ended up happening though was, after the game, my youngest son had a rec tournament over in McDonough. So my wife, my kids drove up, and so immediately after the game, I left the bus, jumped in the car, and I drove all of them down to McDonough. So we kind of had a total separation from the team. Everybody got to kind of just calm down, soak everything in, and we chatted up with our group over the weekend, just make sure everyone was still focusing on the task at hand, but. It took a little while to decompress and calm down. The emotions were, flying pretty high once we hit the road. But yeah, yesterday after we got back home, I mean, everything seems to be pretty good. We're locked in.
16-2, obviously 6-0. You ran through region. You were number one, area 3, team 1 going into the playoffs. You get the first round bye. You get to watch everybody else. Then you had some big distance wins against Washington Wilkes and Macon County before you get to the Final Four in Class AD2. When you have to travel from Milledgeville to Dalton, logistics and timing and working your way through Atlanta or around Atlanta to get to basically Chattanooga to go play Christian Heritage. I don't think a lot of folks necessarily understand the travel aspect in all of this. How much of a challenge is that, especially for the smaller schools and the smaller classifications, to pack everybody up to go from Milledgeville to Dalton for a semifinal?
Honestly, we timed that up so perfectly. We left about 11:15 and we hit the road, hit I-20, and our goal was to get past Atlanta before we could stop and eat lunch. And believe it or not, we made it up to, I think it was um, Marietta.
Wow.
What's the big mall that's up there? Town Square Mall.
Yeah.
Um, and we stopped in, went to the food court, just kind of chilled out for about an hour just to kill some time. And then we hit the road. And immediately after we do that, some of the parents hit their group and they were saying, "Hey, just be aware there's lockdown traffic on 75." Um, right as you're going up towards Marietta, it was like, thank God we made it through. So no, we got up there a couple hours before kickoff. We met the AD and he got some space for us. We were good to go. Everybody up there was super positive, super great. They had actually just had this massive dump of rain, so they had football practice on their field, so they were actually trying to scrape all of the grass clippings that had gone onto the field. Um, to get all that back under control. But their drainage was great, and everything was set up ready for us when we started our warm ups. So
Senior leadership has been there for you, especially putting the ball in the back of the net. I think you've got 2 players that are double figures, and then three. Wow, 4 players double figures. That's what happens
yeah,
when you scroll down a page. 103 goals in the season in 17 games. So you're having me do math. That's like close to 6 a match on average. I mean, when you have this kind of offensive output, do you have the time to sit there and go, man, this is crazy that we're putting these kind of numbers up on the board? I mean, that's some solid stuff going north of 100 goals in a season.
it's pretty neat to sit there and watch what's kind of evolved over the last couple of years, and to see these guys be able to click offensively. And most of it just kind of happens based on how we move the ball around. But we went from last year kind of being a little more on the undersized route, to this year these guys growing and just unlocking some crazy speed. And two guys in the 20 goal area is unheard of for us. We usually have one guy that hits up close to 20. But to have that and then another freshman and another senior hit over 10, I mean, it's almost like score at will. Um, but you go into these tight games, like even on Friday, we're probably going to give up a good opportunity for them, maybe just something that we mishandle on our back end. But we have all the ability in the world to go drop in 2, 3, 4 goals. So it just took a little bit of time, but yeah, it's great.
17 different goal scorers this year. And I mean, you mentioned the 4 that you got in double figures, 2 in the 20s, 2 more in the teens. But when you have 17 different players score for you in a season, obviously that speaks to the environment and everybody embracing the system and knowing what their assignments are, especially when they get called on. It's like, look, I need you to come in for a cup of coffee in like minute 35 and a half. I've got to have you drop in right now. 17 players. Have you had that kind of distribution before?
We actually did. A couple of years ago, we had we had close to probably that many that dropped a goal in. And I mean, even looking at the assists, you've got a couple more guys who haven't been able to score a goal, but they've provided an assist for us. So we've had that in the past. It's just the guys buy in, the entire program buys in, and everyone wants an opportunity. And we have some games where we can provide that. But the cool part is that you see them do it, and you have the full support of all their teammates around them. We throw some people up there. we had we had a penalty kick come in one game, and they were like, "No, throw in one of the freshmen." And I usually let the players decide who's going to take that kick. And he goes up, he buries it, and the entire team just like floods around him, you know. And so you love that, to be able to give somebody that kind of a moment and experience is great.
And when you look back at the match, I know that you got thrown back into the family duty after the win, but after you went back, and how many times have you seen the match either in your head or staring at film, getting ready for a final?
I honestly haven't gone back and rewatched that game.
Really?
Yeah, I had to separate and take a break. It was, you know, full necessity to do that. The only thing I went back and watched, so we gave up a goal, you know, first 5 minutes of the game, and then it was, you know, receive just wave after wave of pressure. Christian Heritage was on the front foot trying to just take us down, and they played awesome. But you know, 15 seconds left. That's kind of the clip that I honed in on. But 15 seconds left, we're in our defensive half. Our left back clears the ball up in the air. Our striker drops down below the circle to receive it. Our 10 starts an immediate run forward. The striker turns, plays the ball immediately through. 10 runs it down, and you know, we're sitting there hollering at him how many seconds are left on the clock, and he literally strikes the ball and it hits the back of the net as the horn goes off. It was one of those plays you have to watch because it's unbelievable. Like, we had fans behind us saying, there's no goal, you know, the play's dead." And I was like, "No, he got it." And the referee immediately, you know, points to the center mark, and we go back and watch it, and it was good. And that was great.
So, what has study hall been like getting ready for Atkinson County, coming out of the left-hand side of the bracket? And they're making strides in both the boys and the girls side of things. But Atkinson County now, out of Pearson, last handful of seasons, they've been getting deeper and deeper and deeper into playoffs, and now they're going to be facing you out of the left-hand side. What do they bring to the table from what you've seen?
Honestly, really haven't seen very much. I was able to get some film this morning from one of the coaches at Coffee, and you know, gonna really try to dive in and break that down. Um, they are kind of operating under the radar. They don't have a lot on Max Prep, so we're able to kind of dive in and look at. So really, what we've been able to find is just some clips here or there. But scouting report wise, you know, just based on history, we've seen them one time before, and you know, they were fast, they were physical, good quality team, and I'm assuming it's probably going to be the exact same thing. You know, a small community like that usually provides very similar players and a lot of family that kind of, you know, goes through, and I'm assuming it's all going to be the same deal.
And how do you, when you get to the last game of the year, when it comes to your players, you want them to focus on the task at hand, but you don't want the environment and the aura of it to be too much, and just lock in on what's going to happen, instead of sitting there and going, we're in a championship game. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then have the moment become too large for them to handle. How do you have them focus on the task at hand, stay off social media? Yeah. We're in the last game playing in a championship. All the stuff is there. How do you get them to focus and lock in and not focus on all the stuff on the outside?
I mean, I think we've been lucky enough to be in this situation before, right? 2021, we were able to be here at Mercer, and take that game out, and then even last year playing against Christian Heritage at McEachern, you know, so you have all these guys who have big game experience now, and I think being able to lose that game last year and go through, you know, all the pain and everything else that we saw, um, we're going to be able to just have everyone's full focus going into tomorrow. You know, no one's sitting there talking a bunch of trash on even our group. You know, I don't see anyone going on social media trying to be, you know, just typical teenagers and kind of puffing their chest out. Like, everyone is ready to just go to work. So
I'm looking
it's
forward.
honestly not that hard. And I think we're in a good spot.
Okay. Looking forward to it, and you get to have a fairly normal day where you're not having to travel to Dalton, you're not having to travel to McEachern. You get to go from Milledgeville to Five Star, and that's just like, okay. By comparison, it's, you get stuck in traffic and you're okay. So
Yeah.
you get to get up in the morning, you get to, in your own bed. It's not a hotel room situation where you're having to go and it's something early. You don't have to get stuck in a van for, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for traffic. You get to have a normal day getting you ready to 5-star.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. We'll probably head out maybe even after school. Um, there's really no point in making a full day of it, so we'll have a normal day, normal process, and then probably get over there. I think the girls' game starts at 5, and we'll get there probably a little bit after that starts and hit the locker room, kind of take everything in, and then um, start getting prepared for warm ups and everything. So it's great.
Tuesday night at 5-star, 7:30. Atkinson County out of the left-hand side of the bracket going up against GMC Prep out of the right-hand side. 4-2 winners over Christian Heritage in the semi. Atco and GMC Class A D2 boys. Second final of the day at 5-star in day number 1. Coach, it's always great to catch up with you and find out what's going on down there in Middle Georgia. Good luck in the matchup tomorrow. Figured we'd knock on your door a little ahead of time so we're not bothering you on the bus or having you on a mobile device at 5-star going, I'm here, don't talk to me. One of those kind of things.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks so much for everything, John. Really appreciate it.
You bet. That's Coach Jaworski, and he's going to go to get lunch and stuff. And so he's going to go try and have the rest of a normal day now that he's caught up with us. It's great to be able to, and this is what we're going to be doing all week long. Try to catch up with as many coaches as what they're comfortable with. If it's the day of, great. If it's the day before, great. And what we're also going to try and do is when folks win, we'll try and catch up with them the day after and find out what it's like for them to win and get a little bit of that particular environment as well. Anticipating Heather Richardson, the head coach at Social Circle, joining us about 12:45, and we will break down everything as it looks over the next handful of days. And so what we'll do now is we'll go over the brackets and get your matchups set up for you. And I will continue to maintain that if you are close to any one of these 3 venues, go. I can't say it any better. Go. Show your support for the sport, not just for what's going to be happening for your favorite team. If your favorite team is a couple days down the road and you can still make it to a venue, whether it's to Duluth or McEachern or 5-star, go. Show support for the state and how it continues to grow here around the state of Georgia. Really looking forward to it. So here's the breakdown of what it's going to be on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you're going to have multiple venues going with the exception of Friday where 7A is all by itself. So here's your rundown of what's going to happen this week. Tomorrow, 5A 7:30, Class A D2 girls and boys. We mentioned Atkinson County and GMC Prep. They're at Mercer at 5-star at 7:30, preceded by Aquinas and Lake Oconee Academy. Lake Oconee Academy, they've been the top team. They came out of the right-hand side of the bracket. What I may do is I may try and track down Walhomskus at Lincoln County and find out what it's like going up against Lake Oconee Academy. So if any of you know Will Homskus at Lincoln, let him know that his ears should be burning and the bat signal will be coming up fairly soon. Class A D1 tomorrow. Social Circle Paideas at 5 o'clock at McEachern. Paideas going for the double, taking on Atlanta International. That one's at 7:30. That is Tuesday. So it's 5-star and McEachern on Tuesday. And so that's what you're staring at. The broadcast teams, and Jason was class enough to forward these along to have the broadcast teams. On Tuesday, it's Jessica Charman and Luke Winstel, and they are going to be down at 5-star. And then it's going to be Justin Hanover and Mateen the Dream, Mateen Zeba, and he's going to be a part of it as well. And so that's Tuesday. Wednesday broadcast teams, Jason and Jess, Gabriel Schrei and Garrett Chapman, and Luke and Maddie. And so Maddie Cruz is going to be getting some work in down at 5-star as well. Thursday, it's going to be Justin and Jarrett and Jason and Jess. And then Friday 7A is going to be Justin and Jess. And so that's your broadcast teams for the days. NFHS Network, you can get the daily pass. You can get the 30-day pass for this activity, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Just get the month and then maybe 28 days in. Circle back to it and sit there and tell them thanks. And we'll do it again this time next year. Wednesday grid at Mercer. It is Fellowship Christian, Mount Perrin Christian, Class AA girls and boys. 7:30, Toombs County and Model. That one's definitely going to be a fun one. We're going to try to catch up with our friends at those schools coming up tomorrow on the show. AAA girls and boys are going to be at McEachern on Wednesday. 5 o'clock at Coney County and Wesleyan. Wesleyan's offense, man, are they putting up numbers. 7:30 Hebron Christian in Columbus. That one is at McEachern as well. We'll see if we can catch up with Coach Torres and find out what it's like with Columbus. We'll see if we can catch up with Wesleyan since we haven't had them on the show so far this season. We'll see what's going on there. Quad A girls and boys is at Duluth. 5 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. Lovett and Oconee County, and it is Johnson, Gainesville, and Westminster. Johnson, Gainesville, and Westminster. If you have not seen Johnson, Gainesville, go see Johnson, Gainesville. That is our team. I guess SDH's vote for Player of the Year is Edgar Vasquez out of Johnson, Gainesville, with what he's been able to do offensively and taking the match on his shoulders and do what he's been able to do. We'll see if we can catch up with Coach Zamora on Wednesday or on Tuesday before leading into that particular match. Thursday, it's Duluth and McEachern. Thursday, 5A girls and boys at Duluth High School. GAC in Cambridge. Boys matchup, McIntosh and Decatur. We'll see if we can catch up with Coach Burgess, and we'll see if we can catch up with Brian Messer on Wednesday. And then for Class 6A girls and boys, that one's at McEachern on Thursday. Girls are at 5 o'clock with Roswell and Marist. The boys are at 7:30, Sprayberry and River Ridge. We had River Ridge on the network. Maddie and I were there for the semifinal against North Atlanta. Sprayberry has made it through. River Ridge has made it through. That's your 6A boys. That's Thursday. 7A girls and boys. That is going to be at Duluth High School. Buford West Forsyth and the girls at 5 o'clock. And it is going to be Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain at 7:30. Buford West Forsyth, number 1, number 2 in the state. And West Forsyth ranked, number 1 in the country, number 2 in the country. It's a back and forth between Buford and West Forsyth in some polls, depending on which poll you look at. So that's your matchups and how and what you can stare at over the next handful of days. Either go if you can go, or get on the NFHS network, subscribe for the 30 days, get the 30 days so you're not having to pay the 4 days of day passes, and then you can catch up with them as well. So that's the rundown of all of the matchups that will be hanging out across all moments here on Soccer's in Session. We're going to try, like I said, we're going to try to catch up with coaches ahead of time. Try to catch up with those who are calling the matches ahead of time. Try to catch up with coaches after the fact, after they've won championships, and we'll see what's going on with them. So national rankings, I know that we kind of discussed that a little bit, but how this particular part of the country is represented, just going through the Max Prep spring rankings, just to kind of break things down for you. When you look at girls soccer, West Forsyth ranked number 2 nationally behind Marist. Marist at 17-1-1, and West Forsyth is ranked number 2. Cambridge is ranked number 4. Lovett ranked number 5. Buford ranked number 8. Roswell ranked number 9. So you had how many teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the top 10 from the state of Georgia on the girls' side. Jefferson was 11, Walton 12, Pope 13, GAC at 14, Harrison at 16, and Lassiter at 19. So you basically doubled the numbers there from the top 20. So that's what you're staring at. McIntosh's girls were at 25, just below Northgate. But in the top 20 in the U.S., according to the Max Preps poll, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You had 12 teams of the 20 and 6 of the top 9 from the state of Georgia. That's girls soccer. That's what the rankings are according to Max Preps when it comes to what you're seeing from girls soccer. On the boys' side of things, River Ridge ranked number 1 in the country according to Max Preps. Ahead of Oak Mountain, Sprayberry at number 3, McIntosh at number 5 at 22-0. So McIntosh undefeated at 22-0, and they're number 5 in the country. And so you end up with River Ridge, Sprayberry, McIntosh, Johns Creek, 4 in the top 10. Atlanta International makes it 5 at number 11. Johnson Gainesville makes it 6 at 14. North Atlanta was ranked 16. It is ranked 16 after their loss. and you end up with Lambert at number 20 in the Max Preps poll. 8 teams in the top 20 on the boys' side of things. Biggest mover for the boys' poll was Greenville Wade Hampton, who went up 22 spots up to number 18 on the grid from our friends at Max Prep. So that's what you're looking at there. How did these teams get to this particular moment? And we're just going to go with the matchups on Tuesday and let you know how Class A, D1, and D2 got to where they are. So Class A, D1, and D2. Since we were in D2, you know how GMC, Prep, and Atco got there to the last match of the year. GMC beat Christian Heritage 4-2. Same score, Atkinson County over Atlanta Classical. And if you missed the interview that we did with Atco Athletic Director Carl McGowan in the post-game show from the matchup with North Atlanta and River Ridge, you can go to our website, or you can download the Mixler app, and you can go back and listen to all the matches that we've done, and you can go back and listen to all the content that we have at our Mixler site, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And what you can do there, you can go back and listen to the matchups, but we caught up with AD Carl McGowan from Atco, and that was in the post-game show last time out on Friday night. So you can find out about the Atkinson County experience and catch up with Coach McGowan right there with Mixler, and you can do it one of two ways. You can actually download the app. Mixler has an app. Let me grab my phone, and I can show you how to do this. So average, normal, everyday phone, MIXLR, that section right there, the Mixler section. What you can do, and I'll put it in my left hand so I can shade it against the light. So what you can do is you can download Mixler, you can follow Soccer Down Here, and you can listen to all the games that are archived here. MIXLR, download the app, set your notifications, follow who you want to follow. You've got to include Soccer Down Here and SDH2 as a part of that. But you can download the Mixler app, or you can go on the web to the full web address at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And you can follow along there. If you like to do stuff on a computer, download the app on your phone. You can listen on your phone. So that's how you can check out all of the archives. We unfortunately cannot do any kind of audio for the championships. First off, we'd like to thank the GHSA for letting us do playoff games themselves. But we can't do any audio since we are a network as opposed to a local over-the-air provider. And so if you have your favorite team and they have their own over-the-air broadcast, then that's how you would access any kind of an audio stream. But we want you to watch and listen, our friends that are going to be a part of it all with the NFHS network on the video side of things. But yeah, big thanks to Steve Figueroa and everybody at the GHSA for turning around contracts very, very quickly so we could call matches from all around the state. And it was fun to do 34 match days. We did 34 match days. Here's 29 of them. Here, 28 of them. Here's 28 of the 34 match days. This is what our schedule looked like when we started, except it didn't have a bunch of cross marks in it and try to figure out where to go. But yeah, so we had 34 match days this season presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente, and it was really fun to be all around the state and go to places we hadn't gone before and catch up with friends that we hadn't seen in a long time. River Ridge, Alexander, Johnson, Gainesville, Mill Creek, Perry, Lambert, Ellijay, Gilmer County. It was great to see the Bobcats and go up against White County. Calhoun, Gainesville for Johnson and Gainesville, game of the year. Parkview, McIntosh went to North DeKalb Stadium a couple of times. Dalton for Northwest Whitfield and Dalton. North Oconee, Brookwood, Villarica, Sequoia, Sonoraville, Winder Barrow, Johns Creek, DeKalb County, Riverwood, Denmark, Stars Mill, Johnson, Gainesville, McIntosh, Decatur, and then in the playoffs, it was North Gwinnett, it was Perry, it was River Ridge, and so it was fun to be able to be in all of these different places to bring it to you as we could all season long. And so we thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente and all of them to make it happen this season. So very, very cool. And thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente for all that is you. And it will be the NFHS network taking over on the video and the audio side. But thanks to the GHSA for letting us do what we could do to get you to the finals. And it was great to be in all the different venues and things like that all season long. We mentioned Class A D2 on the boys' side. Class A D1, Paideia had to go to penalties to beat Mount Vernon. It was tied 1-1 after 100 minutes. They go to PKs. Paideia wins it 4-3 in PKs. Paideia comes out of the left-hand side of the bracket. Atlanta International, who had no problems in the early rounds, and it was Atlanta International beat Armurchie, beat Rabun County, beat Jefferson County. They stormed through the low right bracket, scoring 31 goals and only allowing 1 in the first 3 matches in Class A D1. Then they played Whitfield Academy on the right-hand side of the bracket to get to the last game. Whitfield Academy, as a 4 seed out of Region 6, beat the Dalton Academy on the road, beat Barrow Arts on the road, beat Lamar County on the road. And the only goals that they gave up leading into the semifinal were the 2 that they gave up to Dalton Academy in round number 1. So it was 5-2. It was 11 goals to 2 that Whitfield Academy had scored versus giving up. So goal difference of +9 before going to play in that semifinal on the right-hand side against Atlanta International. Atlanta International would go on to win it by the score of 4-1. And so that was how the boys' side was when it came to everything going on in Class A, D1, and D2. When you have the girls' side, Class A, D1, and D2. Left-hand side of the bracket, Social Circle over Mount Vernon by the final of 5-3. And when you have as prolific a goal scorer as you do in Social Circle, it is tremendous. You figure that the games are going to be exciting. You just go ahead and turn the engine on and watch it go. And it was a 5-3 final for Social Circle as they make it to the last match of the year. And they're going to take on Paideia. We mentioned Paideia chasing after the daily double. And Paideia beat Atlanta International 2-0. So Paideia, who had no problems in the first 3 rounds, once again, they had scored 25, had not given up a goal. Did not give up a goal to Atlanta International. So 37-0. 37-0 is the run right now that Atlanta International is on in the playoffs. And that's where we are with Atlanta International, with the Paideia. Paideia was 25, and they were 25-0. Paideia was 7, 8, and 10. That's 25, John. So 25-0 before getting to the final against Atlanta International. And Paideia beats Atlanta International 2-0. Great season for Atlanta International. They came in as a 4 seed out of Region 6, scored 5 against Armurchie, scored 3 against Rabun County. They didn't give up a goal until the Lamar County match in round 3, but they had to go to penalties. It was tied at 2 after 100 minutes. Atlanta International wins it 4-2, and you end up with Atlanta International getting to the semifinal on the right-hand side. Paideia got the win, and that was how you ended up with Paideia chasing after the daily double, Social Circle chasing after yet another championship in Class A on the D1 side of things. D2 side, D2 girls, and once again, you're looking at teams making deep runs and not giving up a lot of goals. Aquinas beat Towns County and it took them a while. It took them the 100 minutes to beat Towns County. And once again, it's great to catch up with our friends up at Towns County and see how that program continues to evolve. But you have Aquinas beating Towns County in the semi to make it up against Lake Oconee Academy. Lake Oconee Academy top in the class in Class A D2 girls. We'll get to them in a second. Aquinas got the bye in round number 1 and has not given up a goal since. 10 goals scored, none allowed. Coming out of the left-hand side of the bracket, Fighting Irish beat Mount Zion Carroll 5-0. Went to Portal because Portal was the number 1 team out of Area 2. Aquinas was the number 2 team out of Area 3. And you end up with trying to see who is the number 1 team out of Area 3. So 3-3. This is what happens when you end up doing math. 3-2. Area 3 Team 2, Area 3 Team 1, Lake Oconee Academy. So that makes sense. So it's the number 1 team out of Area 3 and the number 2 team out of Area 3, Lake Oconee Academy and Aquinas. But Aquinas, as the 2 team out of Area 3, once again, have not given up a goal in the postseason. 10 goals scored, none allowed, coming from the left-hand side. Lake Oconee Academy, and like I said, this is where I want to try to catch up with Will Homskis, the head coach at Lincoln County, and find out what Will thought and what Will knows so we can get a little bit of extra intel about Lake Oconee Academy, because Lincoln County had beaten them early in the season. Then they had to play them in round 2 of the playoffs, and they were down, and will tell you this, that they were down 2-0, and then they had to chase the match, and then, you're in for a penny, in for a pound in that case. And so Lincoln County would eventually lose to Lake Oconee by the final of 4-0. Then Lake Oconee would beat Wheeler County at home. So the Bulldogs would travel from Alamo to Lake Oconee, and they lose 6-1. Right-hand side of the bracket, Lake Oconee Academy beat Atlanta Classical by the final of 3-0. Atlanta Classical was the top team out of Area 4, did not give up a goal to either Chatco or Johnson County, 8 goals scored with a bye, and then they don't score a goal against Lake Oconee Academy. So the number 1 and 2 teams out of Area 3, that's what you're staring at tomorrow when you're looking at Aquinas and Lake Oconee Academy. That's the 5 o'clock match in D2 tomorrow at 5 Star on the campus of Mercer University, Macon. So it's 5 o'clock is girls D2, and it is 7:30 for the boys D2, and being able to catch up with Bobby Jaworski and find out what's going on there. So it's D1 is at McEachern, D2 is at Mercer. And so those are your finals on day number 1 when it comes to the GHSA championships. Remember, Class A, D1, and D2 are day 1, 2, 3, and 4, 3 different venues, day 2, 2 different venues, day 3, and then the 1 venue for 7A Friday night at Duluth High School. But yeah, they've got all 3 venues working at the same time: Mercer, Duluth, and McEachern on Wednesday. That's the day that's got the most traffic that's attached. And so that would be the longest day of the entire week: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when you're looking at the matchups in the GHSA playoffs. And when you get to, and when Coach Richardson joins us, if her classes will cooperate, she had said 12:45, so we'll see what happens, and hopefully her classes will yield, and her work will yield when it comes to joining us here today. The statistics that you have offensively, we'd mentioned it with Coach Jaworski just about how deep his roster is: 17 different goal scorers, 2 that scored north of 20, and 2 more that scored in the teens. When you have a player like Peyton Brooks, and Peyton Brooks has scored 57 times this season, 57 times. And it's just insane to see that kind of a talent. So Peyton Brooks, 57 goals, 27 assists for Social Circle. And Social Circle in their season, and you're going to have me do math again here. Social Circle doing, so in 20 matchups, 17, 2, and 1. That's how you end up. You go through your region. You score 108 goals in 20 matches. So 8 over 20, so 5.4, a little over 5 goals a match. And that's what you're looking at with Social Circle. They've given up 34 in 20, so that's given up 1.6. But when you're scoring a 5.5 and you're only giving up 1.6, you don't have to worry about it a whole lot. But for a Social Circle to get to this particular point where they are ranked top 150th, top 150 in the country, blow through their region, win 17 of 20, you end up with a matchup where they beat Lake Oconee Academy early in the year, beat them 9-0. That's what you're getting with Social Circle here, coming out of the left-hand side of the bracket with them. Then you've got the goal, just the number of goals that they've scored. I don't want to mention opponents, but they put up a lot of goals. 5, 7, 10, 5. At Winder Barrow, they won 2-0. Oglethorpe County was a shootout, 5-4. 6, 4, 2, 5, 10 against Jasper County in region. 3, 7. Then they lose to Ace Charter, a higher classification side. No shame there, because that's what you want to do. You want to challenge yourself. And so you challenge yourself with Ace. You challenge yourself with Jackson County. Then you draw Dutchtown. Those are the only 3 matchups that were blemishes for Social Circle this season. And it's at Ace Charter. So what you have to do is you've got to pack up. You've got to Leave Social Circle. You've got to find out if you're going to cut through the forests on 319, I believe, and work your way to the Gray Highway to go down toward Macon and catch up with Ace Charter that way. Then Jackson County comes to see you, and you lose 6-2. Then Dutchtown comes to see you, and that was your only draw on the season. That was a 1-1 draw back on January, February, March, April 11th. And so April 11th, there was a stretch. There was 3 matches in a 4-day stretch that we get to ask Coach Richardson about. 3 matches in a 4-day stretch where you're on the road, you lose 3-0, you come back home, and then back-to-back, you end up losing 6-2, and you drew 1-1. From there, you learned. Like I said, I want to when Coach Richardson visits us next, I'm going to ask these questions. What you learn about yourself in this matchup? Elbert County, Whitfield Academy, East Lawrence, and Mount Vernon. So after you were done with region play, you get into the playoffs, and you have scored 27 goals in the postseason to get you ready for this last game of the year out of the left-hand side of the bracket. And it was a 5-3 game with Social Circle and Mount Vernon. And, so that's how D1 girls wraps up the way that it is. 5 o'clock tomorrow at 5 Star at Mercer. But just the sheer numbers of it all, 14-13, 27 goals scored, and you end up only giving up a handful. And as promised, dropping by out of Social Circle. Since we were talking Social Circle, time to catch up with Coach Richardson. So what am I getting you out of, Coach?
Oh, just teaching an English class.
Okay. So I was discussing your schedule before you were dropping in. And for those that didn't get the chance to catch you on previous visits, there was a stretch of 3 matches in 4 days about a month ago where it was 2 losses and a draw. You played at Ace Charter. You go on the road. You're the road team playing Ace Charter. Then the game against Jackson County. Then the game against Dutchtown.
Yes.
I think it's safe to say I would venture to say that you learn more about yourself when you lose than if you were to just run the table and go 50,000-0 and then you win all the trophies and everything. What did you learn about yourself in that 3 matches in 4-day stretch that you could use carrying forward leading into this playoff run, basically?
Well, I think definitely with the Ace Charter game, that was a Monday, and it was the Monday that we got back from school after spring break. So I think with that situation, and it was hot that day, and it hadn't been super hot recently. That day, just, fighting through heat and fighting through, you're just not having a good game and you can't figure out why. You got to figure out why before the game's over with. So we definitely learned a lot in that game, and that I think we'll definitely be able to carry on, through the last game that we have. Just that fighting through, definitely fighting through the heat. But if there's something that's off, we got to fix it quick, or it's not going to be good.
How are you when it comes to playing on grass versus turf? How much of an adjustment has that been? And I know that you want to set yourself up to play on turf as well, considering what 5 Star is.
Right.
How are the adjustments for you going from grass surface to turf this season? What's that been like?
Well, I tell the girls, they all seem always, because they don't understand until they get to play on some grass that is so, so good. They love to see a nice turf field, but I'm like, girls, grass can be so much better. It's so much easier when you fall and when you slide. But just going on grass, just knowing that the ball is going to be, it's not going to go quite as quickly, probably. And that it's going to be, easier on your body, for one thing, especially if you end up falling for some reason or having to slide for some reason, and just enjoy it, because I feel like we play on a whole lot of turf. But me growing up and coaching years ago, that all there was grass. So definitely that it can be a little bit slower, I guess, especially if it's not cut real low.
When it comes to the game itself and how you have come along in your coaching career, if you look back to, say, your first couple of years as a coach to now, how has the game changed and how has the management of programs changed for you since you started as a coach?
I would say I feel like I've been through so many different years of coaching and teams. The formations have changed a lot. I remember playing in college in the '90s, and I played a four. We played a definite 4-4-2 with a sweeper and a stopper. And when I coached, that's what I coached with. And as a matter of fact, surprisingly, even back in 2022, when we won the state championship, that was the formation I used. But just recently into the next season, I'm like, we gotta amp this up. And players are better. Players are more skilled. They're more knowledgeable about all sorts of different things. So they can definitely find your weaknesses if you aren't playing in the right way.
How difficult is it for you to find non-region opponents, knowing the pedigree that Social Circle has?
I will tell you that was super hard, especially after 2022. It was hard to find teams to play, but I think now, I mean, we have so many good teams near us that that it's easier for me now that we're on such a run, and we've got such quality players. I can play the bigger schools around me, and even if we lose, it's it's a learning experience, and it's good for our team, just to prepare us for the playoffs.
This season, and I'm going to count the number of goal scorers. I know that everybody kind of gravitates toward Peyton and the numbers that she's put up, which officially are now 57 and 27. And that's just, it's to me, I think it's just amazing, those kinds of numbers in a 20-match season. I'm trying to do math quickly here. So 3, 6, 9, 10. It looks like 10 different goal scorers for you this year.
Right.
What's it like to have all of these different goal scorers and this kind of contribution coming from all these different individuals to get you to the last game of the year?
I think it's what you have to have. I mean, it makes us a more well-rounded team to know that I have other girls that are goal scorers as well. But Peyton is that special player. I think in the Whitfield Academy game in the second round, I knew that was going to be a super difficult game, and she actually scored all 4 goals. So when I'm going into Mount Vernon, I'm like, we got to be, somebody else has got to help. So it was really nice. She did score 3 goals in that game, but Alana scored 1 and Faith scored 1. So it's nice to see some other people putting up some goals, especially going into this final game. And we have the players along with Peyton that can create some things.
Alana Ferguson, junior with 19, and Faith, another junior with 13. Peyton's the senior with 57. And there's only this next match coming up. Have you thought about the legacy that a player like Peyton's leaving behind from what she was able to accomplish from day one? Have you thought about the impact that she's had on this program?
Yes, very much so. I mean, she's had an amazing impact on this program, and not just because she scores a lot of goals, just because of the player that she is. Day in and day out at practice, at games, you never see a different side of her. You see the hardworking, always ready to play, always ready to give it her best. She just is she's very quiet about it, but she's a great role model for any younger player that comes in on our team. So she has created quite the legacy, and really helped taking us to some pretty fun places.
How much study hall has happened looking at Paideia getting ready for this matchup? Or is it just we're going to focus on ourselves and we kind of know what the Pythons are bringing to the table? What's study hall been like?
I have done a whole lot of study hall because because we can't just do what we always do with this one, I don't think. So I've been watching a whole lot of game film, and we're going to get into a little bit of that today at practice, and a whole lot of that tomorrow morning before we leave. Just some specifics about what we need to do to be successful, just because of the way that they play.
When it comes to travel, how acclimated are you as a program when it comes to travel? Because it could be around the corner. It could be a matchup that is South Georgia or what have you. You've got to travel basically. I mean, you get to I-20, then you got it made, because you're just going through Atlanta. You're not having to go around and upper everything. You just have to get through I-20. When it comes to travel, how acclimated is this group to knowing, okay, we know we got to hop on a Yellowhound and we know it's going to take a little while. How acclimated are they to this?
Well, thankfully in the postseason, not super acclimated because we haven't had to travel, but that's been a big positive. But, over the last couple of years, we've done a lot of traveling, and especially, when our region was a little bit different and we were traveling to Towns County, like places really far away. I know. And in 2022, the ride to Macon actually was a whole lot less stressful for me. I'm just paranoid about traffic in downtown Atlanta. But we're pretty acclimated to it. And thankfully our athletic director is getting us a charter bus. So
Ooh.
we're living it up. Yeah. We're making the most of it. Leaving pretty early, making some stops, just trying to help the girls get excited about it.
And then that lends it into the community question. What was it like in the last round against Mount Vernon that turned into an 8-goal thriller? I know we were at West Forsyth and looking at that matchup with North Gwinnett, and we're keeping an eye on yours as best we can, and we're going, wow, there's a lot of goals that are being scored here. Was it as crazy as it seemed to the rest of us who weren't there?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think because of the nature of the game, we had a full out student section, which I think the girls truly appreciated. And it helped spur on some of that because same with the Whitfield game, we get scored on first. So we got to dig deep and we're always able to somehow figure out how to come back. And we did that. I think it was 2-1 at half. We were winning. And I honestly think it was hot outside, but I honestly think the student section had a whole lot to do with it. Getting our girls amped up and playing 100% the whole time. And I think the intensity of the game before against East Lawrence also kind of helped because that was a pretty intense. I know we won it 8-1 or 8-0, but it was still an extremely intense, rough, aggressive game. So, like I said, the student section just really helped us out. And it was an exciting game.
Well, and at the same time, that East Lawrence match, as we've been talking through the playoffs, that got pushed back a day. And so then you've got to go from a match that you really want to take care of early to a quicker turnaround to get ready for the semifinal where Mount Vernon's coming to visit. I mean, that kind of creates other issues as well, where you end up with with schedule compression getting you to a semifinal because of that matchup with East Lawrence too.
Right. Yeah. I was a little bit worried about that after the East Lawrence game. Thankfully, nobody was injured or anything, but they were definitely sore and they were tired. And I was like, oh, girls, forgive me, but I do hope that y'all can recover very quickly. So Wednesday's practice, needless to say, was not super intense. Definitely informative, but not super intense.
Heather Richardson hanging out with us for another minute here on Soccer's in Session Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente, for all that is you. When I'm doing the American football season, and we have a feature that we call Make That Kid an Offer. And for whatever reason, there's an athlete that is under whatever. They might not, they're not tall enough. They're not whatever. They're underappreciated and they're overlooked or something like that. Do you have someone, or they might not even be getting the looks from colleges that you think a player deserves, to the quality of that player?
Right.
When it comes to your roster, is there anyone that would fit that Make That Kid an Offer moniker of they really need to be looked at, or they're not being looked at to the quality of the individual? Does someone fit that Make That Kid an Offer grouping for you?
Probably I can think of maybe two right now. Faith Young, definitely. My center midfielder. She did make first team all region. So, I mean, she's not completely overlooked by any means. But she just does a whole lot of work in the center midfield that sometimes goes unnoticed. I think last year she was our assist leader. This year, I think Alana is, but she is just a workhorse and she loves the game and she's smart and just plays really, really hard. And probably another, she's a ninth graders, which is probably another reason why she may be overlooked, but she's a defensive center midfielder, Taylor Bramlett. Doesn't score very many goals, doesn't have many assists, but such a good athletic player that I think has a big career coming ahead of her.
So what is Peyton's future, by the way?
She actually is committed to play at Truett McConnell.
Okay. All right. So NAIA. All right. Truett McConnell. And I know where Truett McConnell is. I know how to get to Cleveland. So
yes. Very good. Yes.
thanks for ducking out of class. And if you get into any kind of trouble, just blame me. It's like, look, I had to do it. I had to do it. I had to do it in a
Yes.
talk show. Safe travels and good luck. And we'll be definitely catching up with you down the road. Thanks for everything that you've done this season to help us out and tell the stories of what's going on. Soccer's in session and the high school game here in the state of Georgia. Go get some lunch or something and blame me.
I will. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That's Coach Richardson at Social Circle. She puts up with me a lot. And I wanted to find out about Peyton Brooks. Peyton Brooks, two-sport player, soccer, volleyball. And she's an outside hitter for varsity volleyball. And right now, her numbers are insane. Insane. 2 words worth of insane. 57 goals, 27 assists, 141 points on the season. But with Social Circle, here's how it breaks down for them offensively. Once again, 108 goals scored in 20 matches. So you're looking at 8 over 20, so 5.4. Peyton Brooks has scored 57. Alana Ferguson has scored 19. And Faith Young has scored 13. Assists, well, obviously, Peyton leads them with 27. Ferguson with 16. She's coming back next year. Young with 12. She's coming back next year. So you've got that with Social Circle. You also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other scorers of goals, including several underclassmen for this roster. And once again, assists, there are 10 goal scorers. There are 12 contributors this season for Social Circle as they get ready to take on Paideia at McEachern tomorrow. And so looking forward to that one as we go. And like I said, tomorrow's rundown, tomorrow's matchups, NFHS Network, and it is Class A D2 at Mercer, 5 and 7:30. Aquinas Lake Oconee Academy, girls first, ladies first. Then the boys, Atkinson County and GMC Prep. Great to have Coach Jaworski on with us here to bat lead off today to break things down in his particular matchup against Atco. Then Class A D1 girls and boys. Once again, Heather Richardson, the coach at Social Circle. Great to catch up with her and see how things are for Social Circle as they get ready to take on Paideia. Paideia chasing after the daily double, Class A D1 girls and boys. Social Circle, Paideia, 5 o'clock at McEachern tomorrow. 7:30, it is Paideia and Atlanta International for Class A D1 girls and boys. That's your rundown for Tuesday. 3 venues going on Wednesday, 2 venues going on Thursday, and then 7A has it all to themselves Friday night at Duluth with Buford, West Forsyth, and Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain to determine who's going to win the last matches of the season when it comes to the girls and the boys. But that's your rundown of everything that has that's going on today. Once again, thanks to Coach Richardson at Social Circle as the Redskins are 17-2-1, 6-0 in region, nationally ranked inside the top 150, ranked in the state of Georgia 32nd according to the Max Preps poll. They beat Mount Vernon 5-3 to get out of the left-hand side of the bracket to take on Paideia. Paideia girls and boys, they're going to be pretty busy at McEachern tomorrow. So tomorrow, the rundown is as follows. We are going to be chasing as many folks as we can that are attached to the Wednesday matchups. So that means we're going to reach out to Toombs County. We're going to reach out to Model. We're going to reach out to Oconee County. We're going to reach out to Wesleyan. We're going to reach out to Columbus. We're going to reach out to North Oconee. We're going to reach out to Johnson Gainesville. We're going to reach out to those folks. Luke Winstel will join us at 12:15, and we'll get Luke's rundown of the matches that he is doing later that Tuesday. So he's going to be at Mercer-Macon, and we're going to get his thoughts on the week, on study hall for him, and his matchup that you're going to catch up on the NFHS Network across the board. So once again, NFHS Network has all the finals, and you can sign up for a day pass. You can sign up for the 30 days, and you can sign up for the season long if you wish. But just sign up for the NFHS Network. You can catch the 4 days of matchups across the board. Heavy SDH footprint when it comes to all of the activity that's there. And it's friends of the show across the board. It is Maddie. It is Luke Winstel. It is Jess. It is Jason, Justin Hanover, Mateen Zeba. Garrett Chapman is a part of it. we got a lot of folks that are attached to it. And so Jarrett's going to be a part of it too. So it's all right. So here, one more time. Tomorrow it's Jess and Luke and Justin and Mateen. So Charmin, Winstel, Hanover, Mateen Zeba, Jason, Jess, Gabriel Schrei from Chattanooga, Garrett Chapman, Luke and Maddie. Thursday, Justin, Jarrett, Jason, and Jess. It's all J's this year. And then Justin and Jason on Friday doing 7A's. So that's what the rundown is. And that's what we're going to be talking about here. Noon Eastern every day. And when championships are decided, we'll try and catch up with folks and get their thoughts about winning titles and things like that. We'll try to catch up with them there as well. It's another day of Soccer's in Session Live. Thanks for hanging out with us once again. You can catch up on all of our content. You want to do some scouting on your own in an audio sense, you can go and catch up right here. You can download the Mixlr app and search for Soccer Down Here. You can download that app, MIXLR. Go to Soccer Down Here. Follow Soccer Down Here. You can go back into our archive and listen to matches if there are teams that you want to do some audio scouting on. And you can also do it on the web at the web address right there at soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. So that's another go around of Soccer's in Session Live presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. It's the end of the show. That means we'll be back at 9:05 tomorrow for the morning show. And then we'll be back here at noon for another go around of Soccer's in Session. So we'll see you in a little less than 21 hours for the morning show, Soccer's morning show. And then Soccer's in Session Live, 23 hours or 22 hours and 59 minutes from now. Since that's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Mucho Platiel, play it safe. We'll catch up with you tomorrow.